I'm Chelsea.
I'm Jessie.
And I'm Sue.
And we're doing a project on landscaping for climate resiliency at Bellairs.
It stands for Barbados Interdisciplinary Tropical Studies. It's a bilateral program with McGill and University of the West Indies. The project course is a course where students work generally with local mentors. These could be people in government, at the university, at non-governmental agencies, at charities of different kinds. And they work together to solve problems of national importance in Barbados.
I'm working with one of the BITS student research teams this summer on a project related to increasing climate resiliency of the Bellairs campus through a few targeted gardening interventions as well as some associated research. This topic is incredibly important and topical right now. The role of green infrastructure in climate resilience has never been more recognized as being critical to our future success in combating climate change. The Office of Sustainability has produced Vision 2020, the Climate and Sustainability Action Plan, which guides our university's initiatives towards sustainability and climate up until 2020. Post 2020, one of the important activities that's already actually started taking place is conducting a climate risk assessment for McGill's various campuses with an aim to increasing our climate resiliency down the line. The research that's being conducted is broken into three distinct parts as well. There's applied student research and actual gardening interventions that are going on this summer at the Bellairs campus. These types of interventions will actually allow us to see what works and doesn't in the Bellairs and Barbados context and help us to start increasing our climate resiliency right now. The second type of project that's going on within the BITS team this summer is some focused research. So this won't actually lead to interventions this summer, but will allow us to build a foundation for what a set of climate resiliency measures could look like in the future. The last important part of the research going on with this team this summer is the maintenance strategies. So one thing about introducing a new program or a new initiative is you also need to make sure that it has a succession plan and a way that it can continue into the future for it to truly be a sustainable project.
The Bellairs Research Institute is situated in Holetown, St. James Parish, Barbados. It hosts students and scientists from around the world for field courses, workshops, and research projects involving marine and terrestrial environments. Part of its educational mandate includes hosting the Barbados Interdisciplinary Tropical Studies program every summer, which has provided us the opportunity to complete this research project. The scope of our project on climate-resilient landscaping will be limited to the front driveway area in front of the main building called the Brace Building. The first part of our project is doing hands-on applied student research. We implemented a recycled container garden, a cactus and succulent bed, and fruit trees. Our applied research would not be possible without all of the people who supported us throughout the process.
Hi, my name is Martin Duval. I'm the Operation Manager of Bellairs Research Institute. So we help them purchasing plants, paying for soil transportation, removing fence, having our staff working with them for their project.
Hi, I'm Damien. I am managing the greenhouse at Bellairs Research Institute. I am here helping the students with their project, and I will be the one taking care of the project when they leave to go back where they come from.
I am Victor Small. I worked with Bellairs for about 43 years. I kind of help the students make instruments and tools to work with, but I also help the students, told the students about the history of Bellairs, the one that all that I know.
Hello, my name is Susan Ryan Graham, and I'm the head of the Sales and Marketing Department here at SBRC. I've been with the company for 8 years, and I'm the mentor for this group of Bellairs BITS students. At SBRC, we are the Island Solid Waste Management Facility. We are a private company, and we are contracted by the government of Barbados. We receive and process the island solid waste and try to divert as much as we can from going into the landfill. SBRC makes good project mentors due to our relationship with BITS for some years now. We have previous research to pull on. We are able to connect students with experts in the area. Having us as mentors, it's basically just having a symbiotic relationship which works for both students and for SBRC in terms of being able to show the uses of our products we have here as well as our recyclable materials which can be pulled out.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Chandler. I'm involved with the Barbados Cactus and Succulent Society for over 20 years. I've been the president since 2008, and I've also been part of the BITS program from the inception. I've been coordinating the BITS program here since then, and I offer as much advice as I can to the students. And this particular project is ideal for me because I'm into succulents and ornamental plants, and I've given them advice on those areas. I also help them in the selection of fruit trees and identifying what are the plants that are already in the establishment.
Our parameters for climate resilient landscaping included the following plant selection criteria. Flood and drought tolerant varieties were identified as a priority due to seasonal difference in rainfall and given that Barbados is predicted to experience increasing temperatures and less rainfall with climate change. Low maintenance plants were a priority to keep labor needs at a minimal. Flowering plants were selected as they attract pollinators such as birds, bats, and bees. Native species were prioritized since they are most adapted to the climate of the West Indies. Fruit-bearing and edible plants were selected to increase campus food security. While not related to climate resiliency, plants that are thorny and bushy were chosen for the fence line to improve security and social sustainability at Bellairs. Additionally, plants that improve overall aesthetics of the landscape were chosen. The applied student research component of this project could not be possible without the project donors. The University of the West Indies Biological and Chemical Science Department donated fruit trees. Other donors included the Garden Shed in St. James Parish and Seed Burst Nurseries in Christchurch. The Walker's Reserve also donated a selection of herbs and flowers. A couple individuals also donated privately from their garden, including Suzanne Ryan Graham, Jeff Chandler, and Janet Cumberbatch.
SBRC donated a 12-meter load of soil mix to the student project, and that consisted of topsoil, organic matter, manure, and sand. The students were also able to find a variety of planting receptacles here for their project.
Increasing food security through local food production has been identified as a priority by the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States. While our applied research intervention will not solve national food security issues, it is one step in the right direction towards creating a more food-secure campus. It can also demonstrate to Barbadians that the potential to use our model of recycled container garden using sustainably sourced materials from the SBRC as well as their soil mixes and mulches. The process of setting up the container garden was the following. Once the plastics were retrieved from the SBRC, they were cleaned. With the help of the maintenance staff, we drilled holes in the barrels and tires for drainage. The tires were cut open on one side to increase the growing surface area. The containers were arranged and a 3/4 inch crushed limestone was laid at the bottom of the containers to help with drainage. The containers were then filled with the SBRC soil mix and were ready to be planted. The trellis was drilled and secured to the barrels. The plants were then planted. Cuvia and blue vervain in the tires to attract pollinators, then a selection of herbs for the Bellairs guests and staff.
So this is where we're going to plant the cactus and succulent garden. The plan is to remove the existing soil and line the bottom of the bed with rocks for proper drainage, and then put a sand and soil mixture on top so that again they can all be well drained. We were told by cactus and succulent expert Jeff Chandler that the best method of planting is to incorporate a lot of sand and dig them about 6 inches deep so that the cacti in particular can be well drained as they become established. We decided to plant 3 different trees, Jamaican plum, sugar apple, and soursop. All 3 of these are excellent because they are drought tolerant, low maintenance, and native to the West Indies. When planting trees, it's important to make sure your hole is big enough, so you want a hole about 3 times as wide and 3 times as deep as the container that your tree comes in. And then you fill the bottom of the hole with a shallow layer of rocks for drainage, and then fill it with soil and plant your tree.
The second part of this project is providing research recommendations to Bellairs and the McGill Office of Sustainability. These are focused around security and living fences, enhancing pre-established beds, flooding control, water catchment, grey water, and irrigation.
The first recommendations that we have is the security and living fences. The main fence that we have right now is the western ficus, and the problem with this ficus, according to a landscape expert, is that the roots can penetrate a lot of times into water pipes, and this bush is also known in Barbados to be very susceptible to a lot of pests and diseases. So he actually recommended us to remove it. And another thing is that there are sea grape and oleander on campus itself, and we want to use this, so we're not going to take this out. We are just going to make this more bushy through some maintenance strategies. And lastly, we thought of introducing bougainvillea into the campus as a living fence, just because this plant is super bushy and has huge thorns, and it flowers throughout the year, so it's also really pretty. The main criteria for the pre-established beds was to be attracted to the eye and also attracted to pollinators such as birds and bees. So there are 5 main pre-established beds within the campus itself, and then 2 main beds outside the gates. So for the main recommendations are going to be for the ones inside campus. Right now, in the beds inside campus, you can see that mainly there's mother-in-law stung, and this has taken over the pre-established beds. Through the SBRC, we met and explored landscaper Dr. Webster, who helped us with these criteria to select the bushes. The bushes that we selected according to these criteria was the Mexican firebush and also the Chinaman stop hat. We also decided it would be for the best to remove the mother-in-law stung, just because this is a very invasive species.
Seasonal flooding is a major concern in the whole town watershed. In rainy season at Bellairs, water flows from the road down the driveway where it pools in front of the maintenance yard by the Brace building. This poses a number of operations problems, hinders maintenance and gardening activities. It could also be a hazard to employees if they operate power tools in flooded conditions. Flooding has also contributed to freshwater and sediment loading, which is detrimental to offshore coral ecosystems in the Folkestone Marine Reserve. A long-term observational study would be necessary to better understand the flooding issue at Bellairs. A partnership could be established with neighboring property, Folkestone Marine Reserve. There is an unused area of 6,400 square feet between the 2 properties. Water could be redirected towards the unused corridor, where it can be collected, reused, diverted to sea, or infiltrate the groundwater. Recommendations 3 to 5 could be included in the co-management strategy. A relatively simple solution to address flooding would be to trench the driveway and install stormwater drains. Suck wells could also be installed along the corridor. Suck wells are shafts that are excavated into limestone coral that reduce surface flooding in the Caribbean by allowing rainwater to infiltrate directly into coral limestone. A bioswale or rain garden corridor could be created to capture and soak up runoff. Permaculture principles can be applied when planning rain gardens or bioswales.
Currently, a few beds are irrigated through rainwater catchment. Rain is collected from the roof of the Brace building into 2 600-gallon tanks. However, the majority of the front yard at Bellairs is not irrigated. Drip lines previously irrigated the yard with potable water or grey water from the laundry machines, but both systems were dismantled. Historically, Barbados has received enough rain such that additional irrigation should not be needed. However, climate change is predicted to create more variable weather patterns, including periods of more intense drought. The most sustainable and climate-resilient way to provide irrigation water for these times would be through rainwater catchment or re-implementation of the rainwater system to reduce reliance on the public potable water supply. There is potential to add 45 more catchment tanks because of the high volume of rainfall in Barbados. However, adding just 1 or 2 more should provide adequate storage to ameliorate the effects of drought in the landscape. Using grey water from the laundry room would have a similar effect. However, the volume of water available depends on how much laundry is being done, which in turn depends on how many guests Bellairs has. Grey water systems are also more complicated and require more treatment. Therefore, grey water is a more expensive and less reliable option.
This project researched and implemented a recycled container garden, a cactus and succulent bed, and fruit trees in the front yard of Bellairs property to show how recycled materials, drought-resistant plants, and foodscaping can contribute to a more climate-resilient landscape. Going forward, these interventions, alongside our rainwater catchment, flooding, and planting recommendations, will serve as examples of climate-resilient landscaping upon which future interventions at Bellairs can be modeled.